What's cracking with you people? Anansa here, and welcome to my 2 cents. And today I want to talk about God of War Laufey, and what this game, well, at least what this trailer anyway, is doing to the internet and the state of gaming, and to the wider gaming community as a whole. And it's interesting to behold. I want to start off so people kind of understand where I'm coming from with God of War Laufey, and the perspective I'm going to bring on this is that I grew up playing the original God of War trilogy. I played God of War 1, God of War 2. God, I've played God of War 2 more times than I care to count, and God of War 3. I did not pick up the Norse God of Wars at all. They didn't interest me. But when I went back and watched some Let's Plays and some footage of the games, I can safely say that my initial impression of the game may have been more harsh than it really should have been. But at the end, I do not feel like I made an erroneous decision about those games. And I'll get into that later. But right now, I want to bring the attention to Laufey. I have just got done watching the gameplay reveal trailer for Laufey. I thought that if I'm going to have an opinion on this, I should at the bare minimum watch the reveal trailer. And I'm going to say it up front. I think of all the God of Wars that have come out, gameplay wise. Before I get into that, let me give you this opinion real quick. In my opinion, God of War 2 is the best game in the original trilogy. Gameplay wise, I think is the best. In terms of the entire series, I genuinely think that God of War 2 is probably the best, just given what I have seen of God of War and God of War Ragnarok, the two of the Norse trilogy, of the Norse saga, I should say, not trilogy. Now, that being said, Laufey looks like it's going to be, from a gameplay perspective, better than God of War 2. And I do not say that lightly. And the reason why, and it is the dumbest fucking reason, it is the dumbest fucking reason for me to actually have this opinion, but it's because the game started off with Laufey, with Faye. I gotta remember her that she calls herself Faye. So the fact that they started that trailer off, that gameplay segment off, with Faye double jumping, tells me everything I need to know about this game. Dumb as it sounds, the fact that you can double jump tells me that there is a freedom of movement in Laufey that isn't there in the Norse God of Wars. And that's the key thing. That's one of the key reasons why I did not get into the new God of Wars. The new God of Wars, in my opinion, looked like they were trying too much to be Last of Us, but with Kratos. And to an extent, I was right. Now, narratively speaking, the new God of Wars are actually fantastic. The voice acting and mocap acting is fantastic. The moment-to-moment story beats, the tension, the rising and falling, the rising action, the climax, the falling action, the and all the other fancy words you want to use for the structure of a story. They are fantastic. It is some of the best storytelling in the entire series. Like the first Norse God of War is better than the entire Greek saga put together. That is how good that story is. I'm not gonna hold you on that. Especially with the reveal and discussion of who Faye is, who the woman is that Kratos eventually moved on from. I forget what his original last name is. That's on me. I want to say it's Cassandra, but I don't think that's right. But moving on, like whoever the woman is that Kratos moved on from with, we get an idea of who she is. Like, it is no secret that Kratos has a type. It is the type that is willing to talk back to him. Like, we have learned that from the very first game. But yeah, knowing that Faye is this great warrior who went toe to toe with Thor, and now they intricately laid that out within the story of the first game of the Norse series, and how we saw that play out in the second Norse series, where where we get to a point where even Kratos finds out that that Faye has a fury that probably matches his own. Maybe. If not, it comes pretty close. So when we got the reveal that we're going to be playing as his wife in a new game, I was like, okay, that's a weird flex, but let's see where it goes. And to see that the reveal trailer is showing that we are playing not only as Faye, but as Faye in the afterlife of the gods. The very thing that was Odin's obsession. That was revealed to be Odin's obsession in God of War Ragnarok. I don't think it's ever touched upon inside that. No. I don't think it's ever touched upon that he is obsessed with knowing where he goes when he dies inside the first Norse game. He's touched. It is known that he is trying to prevent Ragnarok and prevent his death, but we don't get the idea that he wants to know what happens when he goes. So the fact that Faye, the last of the giants, the one that has eluded Odin for years, is now in the play. Like not long after we burn her body in the very first Norse game, she's teleported right there to where he goes when he dies. It's pretty interesting, and we also get to see that we're going to be dealing with a variety of gods within this game, within this setting. We saw Sekhmet. I didn't quite catch the name of the red demon that she was talking to, but going off of what the design convention is, part of me thinks that it's of Chinese influence. Like, I can't remember too many designs in Japanese mythology where something like that would come up. If whoever that creature is either of Chinese origin, or of probably Buddhist origin, or which no, that's not Buddhism. Hinduism? I think Hinduism is where the god Shiva comes from. I could see that being the origin, but again, I don't know. I haven't had a chance to really dig into it, but it looks interesting. So very clearly, they're setting up. I'm gonna call it right now. They are setting up the return of Zeus in this game. We are going to have Faye bump into Zeus. Now, what that looks like, I don't know. Okay, I don't know, because how the original trilogy ended is that Zeus and the rest of the Greek gods effectively were corrupted by the darkness in Pandora's box at the end of the first game. At the end of very first God of War game. So, are we going to meet the version of Zeus that Kratos killed, or the version of Zeus that wasn't corrupted by Pandora? That's going to be an interesting question to see. But I'm fairly certain that Faye is going to bump into Zeus, most likely Athena, even though she was shown to be very much in the physical mortal realm as opposed to the land of the gods. So I don't know how they're going to square that circle. But we are going to bump into, in my opinion, at the bare minimum, we're going to bump into Athena, maybe get some hints at Zeus, in my personal opinion. Now, the reason why I bring up that, again, the gameplay-wise, look at the combat system. This looks like it's going to be the funnest combat system in the game, in the series, that we're going to see. That we're going to see a very interesting story that basically kind of amalgamates all of the gods, or at least most of the mythological pantheon of other religions into this game. Maybe not all of them, but a good chunk of them. and the fact that the game graphically looks amazing. I bring this up because this has been buried under the online discourse by a group of insane individuals who either do it because they are willfully, blissfully this stupid, or they're maliciously lying to make a quick buck. I'm not going to name too many names, but one of the biggest names, and I feel like this one at the bare minimum should be called up because of how big his platform is Asmongold. Asmongold has basically made a career of himself being known as the guy who is, for lack of a better word, he's just incapable of wiping his own ass, apparently. Like, all I know about the guy is that he has roaches crawling on him, he woke up to a dying rat every morning for an alarm clock, and he doesn't take a shower. That's all I know about him. Like, hell, when he first popped up on my recommendations list like 2 years ago, my very first reaction to the guy was, holy shit, Charlie let himself go. That was my first reaction when I saw just a preview clip pop up on my feed like 2 years ago. Then I find out like a month later, no, it's a completely different guy. And I found out another year later that he got to start doing World of Warcraft for like 20 years. That was like his bread and butter for 20 years. And now he's shifted into basically being a version of a commentator that I thought we had left behind in the mid-2010s. Which is why I'm making this video today, because despite all the praise I just heaped upon Laufey, I'm sure you guys did pick up that I didn't pick up the original Norse series. I didn't pick up original Norse series. I didn't pick up the Norse reboot series. I wasn't interested in it. I am not interested in Laufey. I'm not. But I feel like I can't have that opinion because of the psychopaths that have co-opted that position on the game. Because the reason why I'm not excited for Laufey isn't because I think the game will be bad. It's not because I think that the game looks boring. It's not because I think the game looks ugly. I think the game looks fantastic. My problem, and again, I wouldn't have this problem if it wasn't for this one moment in the trailer. The talking cube of gelatin. And the reason why that talking cube of gelatin throws me off entirely. And again, we might find out later in the game that he is the reincarnation of a dead god, or maybe he's a dead god. Maybe he's a formerly dead god hiding in plain sight in the guise of a cube. That I'm more than willing to go with that if that is the case. But that's one of those things that I'm going to have to be spoiled on before I even consider picking up the game. Because the reason why that cube is throwing me off and why it is frustrating to have this opinion is because of a problem with Laufey that isn't exclusive to Laufey. It's something that started in the late 2000s and got worse with the advent of The Last of Us. I am sick and tired of realistic graphical fidelity in video games. I am. I frankly find it boring and uninteresting. I get why they do it. It is to push it is to push how powerful their system is, to show how many polygons they can render, to show how many effects they can have on screen, to show all of this stuff. I get it. I'm not going to knock them for it. But I miss the days when games came out with unique art styles. Like think about the top 10 games of the last decade. And I mean in terms of like sales figures and whatnot. How many of those games had a unique art style? How many of those games, if you just took a random screenshot from a random point in the game, you'd be able to tell exactly what game it is just from that screenshot? Not many. I think maybe Elden Ring is like the only one you could feasibly do that because as even though it is a realistic art style, the The architecture and design of the world is so unique that it's impossible to conflate with anything else. Laufey, I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like we're going to get to a point in the game where you just take a random screenshot from that game, it's going to look like any Assassin's Creed game out there, or older Dark Souls games, stuff like that. And it's like if we had in my opinion, and again with God of War specifically, it started in my viewpoint of God of War 3. I think God of War 3 is the ugliest game in the entire Greek saga, with God of War 2 being the best looking game, because they took this Gothic Grecian architecture art style and they made it work. Kratos has a memorable look, he has a memorable visage, he has a memorable silhouette, and then they translated that into 3D and he looked just off in the third game. And then in the North series, it's still Kratos. You can't knock it. You know it's him, and he sounds very close to the original voice actor, even though it wasn't him. But that was mostly because they couldn't get him to body the mocap act, so that was kind of part of that problem there. But I digress. But with regards to the game itself, I feel like Laufey would be a better game if it had a unique art style. Like if they exaggerated more of the features, if they exaggerated the color of her hair, exaggerated the shape of her armor, exaggerated the designs of Sekhmet and whoever that red guy is next to her. They exaggerated some of the world design. I feel like the game would be stronger for it. Yes, it is impressive what it looks like now, especially when that giant cat thing shows up and takes Sekhmet away to where that telescope is. But I feel like the game is held back because it wanted a realistic art style. My bad, a realistic aesthetic. If they had gone for a more animated, I'm gonna say animated and embellished, more stylized design of all the characters and all the enemies and whatnot, I feel like the game would stick out more and the combat would be more fulfilling as a result of it. Presentation is important when it comes to gaming and movies and television and of any variety, because the presentation goes a long way to emphasizing the story or the action. But unfortunately, an opinion like mine probably won't get any kind of consideration, because we've had people like Asmongold who have gone on record saying the game is going to be terrible because you're playing as a woman. No, like legitimately speaking, like when you look up Laufey, there's like what, 6 or 7 videos in like the first page alone, maybe the first couple of scroll wheel turns, that are just like, this game is going bad, this game is woke, this game is X, Y, and Z, this game is yada. And all it is, realistically speaking, are people trying to make a quick buck off of outrage. These are people who are playing to an audience that doesn't care about gaming. They don't care about the integrity of the game. They don't care about the artistic vision of the game. They don't care about the potential of the gaming industry. They are just here to hear woke DEI bad, get their serotonin off of that, and then go on about their days not showering, you know? And the biggest mouthpiece for it is Asmongold, because of how big his platform is. He's like one of the biggest streamers on the in the world right now, or at least in the American market. So people are going to flock to him. And I just don't understand how a guy who is mostly known for having roaches crawl on him and not being able to take a shower, or not wanting to take a shower, is considered the height of intellectual honesty and an opinion that should be valued. I'd much rather watch people like the Birdman, who actually digs deep into his research and is willing to present his case as clearly and succinctly as he can. there is an objective critique to have of Laufey. I at least gave at least what I feel like is an objective critique of the game based on what I've seen, and my objective critique is it's gonna be a good game. But my subjective critique is I'm not interested in it because it just looks off to me, you know? And I'm just bored with the aesthetic as is. But that's not a big deal in my opinion, because again, it's just an aesthetic preference. It's a stylistic preference. Will I pick the game up one day? Who knows? I might do it on a whim, you know? Because again, the game doesn't look terrible. And Faye as a character, we know somewhat who Faye is based upon the two God of War, based upon the two Norse series, and the kind of woman she is also informed by Kratos in the original Greek saga, because again, the only women that Kratos ever married were women that straight up told him when to get on and get off. You know what I mean? So it's not like this comes out of nowhere. Faye, I won't say looks like, Faye is set up to be a very interesting, introspective character. And the one time we did see her in Ragnarok, again, she didn't seem out of place. She wasn't terrible. She wasn't obnoxious. She seemed relatively likable, you know? She was helping with the chores and stuff. She was, from the looks of, I say helping with the chores, she was helping with like, what was the scene? I think they were building the cabin they were going to live in, and she was helping collect the wood for that. And I don't mean like the sticks. I mean she was helping collect like actual fucking logs, as well as, you know, having Kratos hold his son and you know, a baby Atreus, and we kind of get the feeling that she is helping him work through his anger, you know, helping him get more calm. So we have an idea of who Faye is, you know, as well as the fact that apparently the entire first game, every single golden mark that was left in the world was Faye's doing, guiding Kratos and Atreus along their journey in the first game. I don't know if that's true for the second game, but for the first game, I think that was confirmed. Every mark, everything, every mark, every jump, every step, every bridge, even to some degree, the people that Kratos would end up meeting was set up by Faye. So we know that she's relatively intelligent. With the bare minimum, she's able to use what information she has to make a reasonably informed decision. So again, this is not a Mary Sue character. This is not a overbearing character. This is not a character who is overpowered. Hell, the opening cinematic of the Laufey trailer, Faye does pretty well against basic enemies, but it's very clear that when push comes to shove, she can very much get her ass kicked. And that's important in any character, including Kratos. Kratos has gotten killed in every game he's been in, except for, ironically, the first God of War, I think. I mean, the first God of War, the Norse saga. He definitely got killed in the first God of War game. That was a very memorable cinematic. But what I'm getting at is that Faye is presented as a character with strengths and weaknesses. She's presented as being very well balanced. So any critique of the game of I'm not going to pick this game up just comes down to personal preference. But unfortunately, we have bad faith actors. In Asmongold's case, he's just a fucking knuckle-dragging moron. But we have other people who are very clearly just trying to grift off this game and get some extra cash off of outrage farming. Now, that is not to say that this is something that we are going to be stuck with. Because luckily, and I feel like it started with Stellar Blade. I think Stellar Blade might have been the inflection point of this. Granted, it wasn't very big, but I think Stellar Blade might have been the inflection point of this. But after the stink that was raised about Stellar Blade, which I play Stellar Blade, is a pretty good game, all things considered. Pretty good game, all things considered. I do wish that the game was stylized, but it utilizes its world in such a way that the stylization does help, and there's nothing too out of place with the game to really kind of like take you out of it, except for like the soda can collection. That was weird, but now I'm digressing. But people made a stink about the character design of Eve. And there was some back and forth about that. I think everybody ultimately kind of settled on it being a nothing burger, and there were people being overly negative about the game for no reason. But the people being overly supportive of the game were being overly supportive for the wrong reasons, if that made any sense, or at the very least, for reasons that really kind of served to over hype Stellar Blade. Because again, Stellar Blade was a fine game. There was nothing terrible about the game as a whole, but it wasn't anything to write home about. I think a sequel of that game would probably expand upon and fix all the issues I have with that game. But again, digressing here, those same people that defended Stellar Blade are now bashing Laufey because, from what I've been able to gather, it's a combination of you're playing as a female character and Faye isn't sexy enough. First of all, with a realistic art style, that's just how that happens. Like, you can't have exaggerated features with an art style like that. So any design of Faye that made her overly busty or overly curvy would just stand out in a game like this with that kind of design. So yeah, in that regard, having a realistic design works for that character. I would prefer a stylized design like what we had with the grit with God of War 2. Make that clear. Not gonna rehash that point. But the people criticizing Laufey are criticizing on one thing and one thing only. Why are we not playing as a man? And calling it woke and whatnot. When I guarantee you the people using the term woke don't even know what woke means. Hell, most of the ones using woke aren't even black. Which is important because woke is a black term. Meaning, are you aware of the struggle? Are you woke to the struggles of the world around us, to the realities of the world around us? Are you woke to the systemic racism? Are you woke to the systemic oppression? Are you woke to the institutions that are designed to keep us down as a people? That's what woke means. But you got white people around here like Asmongold who don't know what it means, don't care to know what it means. All they know is that they're angry because someone told them to be angry, and he used that word flippantly because he's a useful idiot. The more he uses it, the less power that word has, the less it has any meaning. And by extension, any criticism that he levels at a particular property loses any real value because of that. So I got sidetracked again because, again, this is something that just happens to me. The My 2 Cents series is mostly me doing stuff off the cuff, so I don't have a script in front of me. So forgive me for digressing. I'll probably be making this apology more than once in every video. But what I'm trying to get at is that as a result of what happened with Stellar Blade, and now it's kind of carrying over to Laufey. And I think there was another game that got caught up in this nonsense. Gotham Knights. It was Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad. Because of the overreaction to those two games, these people have kind of overextended, and now they're in the spotlight and they are ripe for criticism. And thankfully, people are calling out people like Asmongold, like Endymion, like Rev, like Andy Pants Gaming and Chibi Reviews, like people like them. They're being called out for the nonsensical grifting nonsense that they spout. It's like, unless you have a valid, cogent opinion that is relevant to the topic at hand, why are you wasting our time? Why are you poisoning the well? Why are you deliberately disrupting the conversation to talk about something that doesn't make sense? And it's a good thing to see. Now, granted, I thought we were past this in the mid-2010s, but I guess I was wrong. Now, that being said, I would probably be a hypocrite if I didn't say, um, feel free to say if my opinion on Laufey is unjust. Because again, my opinion on Laufey is simply this, and this is gonna be the last time I'm gonna repeat it. It is a game that I firmly believe will be well received. I firmly believe it's going to have the best gameplay of the entire God of War franchise. So much, in fact, that I'm honest to God hoping that the God of War remakes use this game engine. They use this combat system. They use this camera setting. They use everything that's in Laufey for the God of War remake. That's how good this game looks. Okay? But I'm put off by it because of his art style. I'm just tired of the realism in gaming, and I wish it would go away, or at least be used less frequently. Because because at this point it's a novelty and a hindrance more than it is anything worth holding on to. We get it. You've proven the game. Excuse me. You've proven that your hardware is powerful. Now show me that your development team is having fun making the game they're going to sell to us. Because Laufey, again, gameplay wise, looks like the team had a lot of fun designing it. But that cube tells me they wanted to do something else artistically with it, but they had to keep it realistic. And that, in my opinion, shows me that there is that the game is going to be held back from what it could be. And as a result, I am cautious to want to buy it. But again, that is my opinion of Laufey. That's opinion that I wanted to get out there and share, so that way there is at least one somewhat reasonable opinion on why someone won't be picking up this game. You know, as opposed to the slew of terrible takes that have overtaken the internet in recent days. So, yeah, I think that's about it. I've been Anansi. This has been my 2 cents. You can either take it or leave it. But whatever you decide, please let me know what your opinions are in the comments down below. I am eager to hear from you guys. In the meantime, peace.